Hello, everybody. Welcome to IUPUI's 99th Speech Night competition. My name is Josiah Suarez, and I'll be your host for this semester's virtual Speech Night competition. I was a participant in the 97th Speech Night competition, and my speech topic was the failings of the American dream. Now, I work as a mentor at the IUPUI Speakers Lab. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to affect individuals around the world, the team behind this year's Speech Night wanted to do their best to still be able to provide an enjoyable and interactive Speech Night competition. Our team recognizes the difficulty of holding an event like this one online and have done our best to make this virtual Speech Night as short and sweet as possible, while still incorporating all the elements of a traditional Speech Night competition. With that being said, we hope that everyone is staying safe, healthy, and inside their homes. Before we get started, here is a quick word from Dr. Christine Karnick, the Chair of Communication Studies at IUPUI, as well as Dr. Robert Reben, the Dean of the IU School of Liberal Arts.
Tonight promises to be a stimulating and exciting evening full of great oratory. And I'm so glad to see so many of you here and out there in the ballroom and in the other places that we are all located at our remote sites. So welcome to all of you. Author and aviator Anne Morrow Lindbergh once wrote, "Good communication is as stimulating as black coffee and just as hard to sleep after." I hope and expect that at the end of this competition, you'll be able to experience that sentiment. So I want to talk a little bit about Speech Night. Speech Night is hosted by the Department of Communication Studies, and this is the longest continuously running event on the IUPUI campus. This is our 49th year. You're about to hear 7 of the best speeches created this fall. And to add to this excitement, you all and out there get to participate in the evaluation process. A great deal rides on the decisions you will make as you listen to these speakers. The winner of tonight's competition takes home not only a beautiful trophy, bragging rights, a nice resume line, but also a cash prize of $1,500. So listen carefully and choose wisely. Before we get started, I want to take a minute to thank the people who have made this night possible. First, your instructors, would R110 instructors, both here and at our remote sites. Please stand. All of you, up. Can we have a round of applause for your wonderful, hardworking, and inspiring instructors. Your efforts are truly and genuinely appreciated. Next, thank you to the R110 leadership team who keep R110 running smoothly each year by coordinating roughly 150 sections and 4,000 students, and who have made this evening possible. And that would be Course Director Steve Overby and Assistant Course Director Ian Sheeler. A round of applause for them. They're kind of back there. And finally, I want to thank and commend you, scholars, R110 students, for making a valuable investment in your future by completing this course. Engaging in smart, clear, informed oral communication is a gift that you will, I guarantee you will use throughout your lives. The skills you've acquired will help you professionally regardless of your major. However, for those of you who have not yet committed to a major, I have just 2 words for you: communication studies. A communication studies degree can provide you with the knowledge and a set of skills that are critical to organizations and transferable between organizations and even careers. Don't believe me? Look at sought-after majors and skills listed in Indeed and Career Builder. I guarantee you'll be surprised at how often you see communication studies. On the other hand, even if you have already chosen a major that is not communication studies, I urge you to consider one of our minors. We offer 6, including organizational and corporate communication. Maybe if you're a Kelly student, that would be a nice addition. Media arts and production, health communication, persuasion. Any lawyers, potential lawyers out there? And even theater. If you look up soft skills that employers look for in potential employees on monster.com, you'll see that number 1 on their list is communication. Both written and verbal communication skills are, in their words, of utmost importance in the workplace because they set the tone for how people perceive you. They also improve your chances of building relationships with coworkers. And further, workers are more productive when they know how to communicate with their peers. If you can clearly express the who, what, when, where, why, and how of a project, you'll be a hot ticket. And their advice on how to gain that skill? It's them, not me. Take public communication, public speaking. So, don't pack away what you've learned this semester in the never-to-be-looked-at-again box in your parents' basement or attic. Keep the material close by. Remember what a good introduction looks like, what it should accomplish. Remember how an oral argument should be structured, how to transition between points, and how to summarize for the listener so that they know what to take away from your words. You'll get some more wonderful examples of that tonight. You've been provided a great framework through which to communicate your ideas when you leave here and leave the university. Use it. You'll be glad you did. And now, I'd like to introduce the Dean of the School of Liberal Arts, Dr. Robert Rabine, who would like to offer a few words about other opportunities you may want to consider in liberal arts. Dr. Rabine.
Thank you, Christine, and welcome to all of you. I would like to talk to you a little bit about an innovative degree program that we've started in the School of Liberal Arts called the Dual Degree Advantage Program. You can find out more about this just by Googling IUPUI Dual Degree Advantage, and it'll take you right to a video that recently appeared on RTV6, and also information that's on our website. But let me back up a minute. How many of you read the New York Times this weekend? All right, good. Do you see the op-ed by Nicholas Kristof called The 4 Secrets of Success? There was an interesting op-ed in the New York Times this weekend, and I wanted to draw your attention to it because in it, Kristof kind of took me down memory lane because he talked about a piece of advice that was often given to college students back 10, 20, 30 years ago, and he discusses this advice, and I want to discuss it with you, okay? So here's the advice. You college students, this is what you need to do. Spend the first third of your life learning. Spend the second third of your life earning and making money. And spend the third of your life giving back. What do you think of this advice? I think it sucks. Who would want to wait until they're 50 years old to make a difference in the world? Really? I mean, one thing I admire about this generation of students is you want to make a difference right now. You don't want to wait until you're 50 years old to make a difference. That's crazy. Similarly, who wants to wait, who wants to see their earning potential finish at 50 and be done at 50, and now the only thing you're supposed to do is give back? What does that even mean? Third of all, who in their right mind wants to stop learning at the age of 25? That's crazy, right? We need to be lifelong learners, lifelong earners, and we need to start giving back day one, and I call giving back making a difference. So this program that I've just mentioned before, Dual Degree Advantage, you may be interested in it, you may not, but let me tell you a few words about it because it's a tool that's available to you. It's an opportunity that's available for you So you can start doing all three of these things right out of the gate. Earning, learning, continuing to learn, and making a difference in the world. I won't get into the weeds about what Dual Degree Advantage program is. I'll just say this. It creates an opportunity for a deep, transformative experience in the liberal arts for every IUPUI student, regardless of major. Regardless of major. And it's aimed especially at students who've already chosen a major in another school that's going to give them hard skills that they need to get a first job, but for whom that's not enough. Students who want to learn more about the world, who want to follow their passions, who want to do more than simply take one degree program that's going to get them their first job. It's a program for students who want to prepare themselves, not just for the first job coming out of school, but for every job that you're going to go for and that you're going to get across the entire span of your career. So how do we do this? Well, we offer these majors, and you'll see it on the website and on the flyers. We offer these majors in liberal arts the same way you would take a minor. The only thing you have to do is declare the major, start at the first classes, work your way through. For most of our majors, that's 11 classes. And when you finish, provided you finish the baccalaureate competencies and gen ed for your first degree, you get the second degree. No extra time in school, no extra money. Now, we're doing this in the School of Liberal Arts because of what I said before. We believe that it is our responsibility to offer a deep, transformative experience to any student who wants it, and we want to take down every single barrier that exists between you and your passion. So think about this for a second. Let's say that you're in engineering, but you want to study creative writing. You can do both. Let's say that you're in finance, but you want to study economics. You can do both. Let's say that you're in sports management, but you want to study law in liberal arts. You can do both. Let's say that you're in psychology, but you want to study sociology, which when you think about it is a really cool thing to do, right? First you study how individuals work, and then you study how the society as a whole is set up and how that works. You can do all of these things. If you were in engineering or the School of Engineering or the School of Science, and you come and do one of our dual degree advantage majors, then on your day of graduation, you will have something that is just crazy to think, and that is 2 degrees, one from Purdue and one from IU, at no extra cost, at no extra time to degree. So I hope you'll take advantage of this, and I hope you'll try to find out more about it. There are these flyers in the back of the building for you to take as you go out. As I said, you can Google IUPUI Dual Degree Advantage. Or, if you want to know more, come see me. I'm the Dean of the School of Liberal Arts. Rob Rabine, R-R-E-B-E-I-N at IUPUI. Email me. I'd glad to meet with you and talk to you about it, as would any of our advisors. So that's my little talk to you. Is it advice? I don't know. I think what it is it's an opportunity that you need to think about what you want to do as you go forward with your career. So having said that, let me also say, I know this is a stressful time of the year, isn't it? Remember to relax. Remember to stay fueled. Also remember that the holidays are not very far away. Soon you'll be out of this crazy time that you're in, and a whole new semester opens up in the spring semester. So congratulations on everything you've achieved so far. Good luck on those exams. Good luck with those last papers. And welcome to Speech Night. Thank you.
We also wanted to take the time to tell you about an amazing opportunity here at IUPUI.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie, and I work in the IUPUI Speakers Lab. Not only am I getting my master's in applied communication, but I'm majoring in communication studies and English literature with a minor in Spanish. So I know liberal arts are extremely important. Especially in our world today, a liberal arts perspective on storytelling, diversity and inclusion, and culture and health not only look fabulous on your academic resume, but also benefit you as you pursue your passions. Whether you're a liberal arts major or not, nothing need stop you from getting a minor in one of those areas. To complete undergrad requirements, you already must take COM R110 and English W131, and those would count directly towards your Pathways minor in liberal arts. You need electives to complete your degree, And what better way than to take them in these important areas to add a minor to your diploma? With just 3 more courses, you'll be on your way to a pathway minor. You can choose from a wide range of options, such as writing fiction, global health, or women's studies. Director Rachel Wheeler explains the Pathway Minor program in this short video.
Hello, my name is Rachel Wheeler. I'm a professor of religious studies and director of the new Pathway Minors program in the School of Liberal Arts. Here in liberal arts, our courses dive straight into key questions and issues facing our society today. Our faculty are committed to fostering the vital skills of critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication through the study of history, literature, religion, philosophy, sociology, and more. Pathway Minors allow you to apply these liberal arts skills to enhance your chosen path of study. Each of our Pathway Minors is a 15-credit course of study centered around a common theme that complements a wide range of majors across IUPUI's campus. The Pathway Minor in Culture and Health offers an array of courses exploring health and healing from multiple perspectives and varied cultural contexts, preparing you with essential skills for any health-oriented career. Storytelling is at the heart of the human experience, from sacred texts to great works of literature, from newspapers to podcasts, and even Instagram. The Pathway Minor in Storytelling invites you to explore the ways that stories are made, told, shaped, and produced across cultures, including your own. The Pathway Minor in Diversity and Inclusion explores the multiple components of identity, including race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, religion, class, age, and disability, and how these identities shape and are shaped by societal structures. All of the Pathway Minors let you bring the power of the liberal arts along with you as you chart the path to your future, wherever that may take you. If you'd like to find out more, explore our website, check out our videos, and feel free to reach me via email.
There is a Canvas site you can be added to if you are interested in this. Just 3 classes to get you a minor no matter what school you're in. Be sure to ask your advisor and visit the website to see if you can get on the pathway to storytelling, diversity and inclusion, or culture and health. I hope to see you on the path.
We're going to start by reviewing the judging and voting process before we introduce our first speaker. You can locate the digital judging sheet by clicking on the button below the video. This sheet can be used to help you keep track of the scores for the contestants and help you select the winner. Please follow along as I review how to fill it out. On this form, there's a place for you to score each contestant on a variety of categories, including the proper Monroe's motivated sequence format, citations, and speech delivery. We ask that you score fairly and objectively, as this is an unusual way to host a speech contest. We ask that you take into account not only the quality of the videos, but also what the speaker is saying and how evident it is that they've practiced and prepared. After you've watched all 7 speeches, a SurveyMonkey link and QR code will be displayed on the screen. At this time, you will vote by ranking the contestants from 1st to 7th place. Kicking off this year's virtual speech night is Aiden Gabbard. Aiden is a sophomore in a forensic and investigative science program. After graduation, Aiden plans to attend medical school and work in a crime lab. Aiden took R110 with Professor Brown, and their speech is titled "The Problem of Plastic."
America has an addiction, and it's not to money or fried foods, it's to plastic. Plastic plays a vital role in many aspects of our daily lives, but none quite as unique as in our grocery bags. Over the summer, I bagged groceries at my local supermarket, and we offered both plastic and paper to every customer. But some grocery stores only offer plastic bags. And since their invention, the accumulation of these single-use plastic bags has drawn the attention of environmentalists, business owners, and legislators alike. And believe it or not, they all agree that a change is needed. Together, they have worked to reduce the amount of single-use plastic bags in states across the country. Now it's our turn. It's time to change the way that Indiana uses plastic. According to a 2019 article by howstuffworks.com, the United States as a whole produces over 4 million tons of plastic bags a year. Now, this statistic alone may not mean very much, but when it's paired with the fact that only about 500,000 tons are recycled each year, that's big. This means that roughly 88% of our single-use plastic bags end up in a landfill or discarded somewhere in the environment. Now, in the simplest of terms, these plastic bags are made of oil by oil. Oil is extracted from the ground using machines that burn oil. Then it is refined by more machines that burn more oil. And then finally it is shaped by even more machines that burn more oil. And then voila, you've got a cheap, easy-to-use carrying device perfect for 1 pint of ice cream and 2 packages of ramen noodles. But maybe after reusing it once or twice around the house, most Americans just throw them in the trash, and they end up sitting in a landfill for over 400 years, according to greentumble.com. The problem is that plastic bag production releases large amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and then the bags themselves just accumulate in the landfills after being thrown away. This presents landfill operators with an either-or scenario. They could either do nothing with the bags and let them build up in their landfill, or they could burn them to get rid of them but release more greenhouse gas. Now, for good reason, there are laws in place making it illegal for landfills to burn their waste. So for the time being, and that being a couple centuries, they're just stuck with these massive amounts of plastic bags. And that's just when the plastic is contained, but what about when it gets loose? When it's rampaging throughout the environment, disrupting ecosystems and killing wildlife? Plastic bags that are blown out of trash cans or discarded as litter usually find their way to the ocean by use of a storm drain or a river. Once there, they don't really break down, they kind of just break apart into microplastics. And microplastics are notorious for building up in an ecosystem and poisoning organisms all the way up the food chain. Another common occurrence is that plastic bags are often confused for jellyfish by sea turtles. It is thought that over half of the world's sea turtles will eat a plastic bag thinking it's a jellyfish at some point in their life. Now, unfortunately, this is not a problem that was just discovered, but luckily that means there are already methods in place that we can use to make a change. Individually, we could stop using plastic bags. Use paper if available, or better yet, cloth bags. But what about on a larger scale? In 2019, a National Geographic article was written by Sarah Gibbons about plastic bans in the United States. At the time of the article, 7 states and hundreds of cities in the country had bans on single-use plastic bags. 17 of the other states, Indiana included, had something called a preemption. Now, a preemption states that it's unlawful to put a ban on a plastic product, essentially a ban on a ban. Removing this preemption in our state should be our ultimate goal in order to eliminate plastic bags. However, there are 2 smaller scale strategies that can be done to reduce the impact of plastic bags. The previously mentioned Nat Geo article also talked about bag fees. In Washington, D.C., there's a 5-cent charge for using a plastic bag. Something like this implemented in grocery stores gives consumers a choice. You could either spend a couple dollars now on some reusable bags, or 5 cents per bag every time you go to the grocery store. Another way is by recycling. Most people think that plastic bags can be recycled with everything else, but that's just not true. According to another 2019 article by Huffington Post, they will clog up sorting machines and end up being thrown in the trash anyway. If cities make it clear where and how to properly recycle plastic bags, less would make it into our landfills. But none of this will mean anything unless we choose to act. If we choose to stand idly by and not advocate for change, then a time will come where it's too late for any of our actions to do any good. As our population increases across the world, demand for goods will also increase, and with it the demand for plastic bags. Increased production will continue to emit greenhouse gases and worsen our global warming situation. More bags will end up in landfills, end up polluting the environment, and further affecting the lives of humans and wild animals alike. Now, I'd like to call this a snowball effect, but really it's more like an avalanche effect. This man-made disaster will wipe us out unless we do something about it. If we take a step in the right direction, we take a step essentially back in time. Our future will be clean, cleaner than it has been for decades. Reduced carbon emission means clearer skies for countries plagued by smog. Plastic bags will no longer overflow our landfills, and kids will not have to watch videos of scientists pulling plastic bags out of an animal's stomach. Even small steps, like the fee on using plastic bags in grocery stores, will help. These fees could help raise money for increased recycling facilities and education, where it's most needed. So this is what I want you to do. Buy a reusable bag. It's as easy as that. And use it in the grocery store, of course. But just try it out and see that we no longer have to be dependent on plastic bags. If you're already doing this, that is excellent. But I've got homework for you too. I want you to contact our governor. In Indiana, that's Governor Eric Holcomb. I want you to tell him what I said in this speech so we can help fix the plastic bag problem. You can find his contact information on www.in.gov/gov. Going directly to our representatives in government is how we as citizens can change things like the preemption laws that are protecting plastic bags. Now, before I end, I just want to give you one last statistic. Courtney Lindwall of the National Resources Defense Council, or NRDC, says that since California banned plastic bags in 2014, there has been an 85% reduction in plastic bag usage by the state's residents. This is proof that change is possible. We just have to put in the hard work. These are the articles that I used in the speech, and thank you for your time.
Next up, we have a speech from Kellen Herron-Deckard. Kellen is a junior majoring in communication studies. After graduation, they plan to start a PR company or start their own event planning company. Kellen took R110 with Professor Sisson, and their speech is titled, Tipping Over.
Tell me if you've heard this one before. So, where are we going to eat tonight? Trust me, I understand that in the time of Rona, we don't necessarily go out to eat like we once did. But in our eagerness to get back to some semblance of normal, our dining out and brewery trips at the end of the day are increasing. According to Statista, a German consumer data company, out of 1,238 people surveyed, the number one thing they were most looking forward to doing after restrictions were lifted was going out to eat. It doesn't matter if you were the diner or the server, we all have some sort of personal relationship with the dining experience. I personally have put in my time. As an undergrad at IU Bloomington, I worked in restaurants and the catering department. Let me tell you right now, I did not make nearly enough to deal with half of the things that I had to deal with. More on that in just a minute. But right now, I want to let you know why we need to rid the system of the antiquated tipping tax and what it is that you can do to help make that change. Tipping is a system that has come to reinforce a lot of the cultural aspects that we are fighting against today. It reinforces sexual harassment, #MeToo. It reinforces discrimination, and it keeps people from attaining a certain comfortable level of living. People believe that they have a certain level of power because they hold the tip, and that is a misconception. Unfortunately, it also means that some people believe that they have carte blanche because they hold the money. According to a 2014 survey conducted by ROC United, a nonprofit organization that aims at improving not only the working conditions, but the wages for restaurants, found that 80% of 688 female employees reported being sexually harassed by their customers. What's unfortunate about this is a lot of the times it goes unreported because they fear retaliation. And because they rely so heavily on those tips, they don't speak out in fear of losing income. There were also two colleagues at Cornell University, Michael Lynn and Michael Sturman, who found that in a 2008 study, white servers made more tips than their Black coworkers for the exact same level of service. On the other side of that coin, a lot of servers have actually admitted to giving customers a different level of treatment because they assumed how they would tip based on how they looked. Right now, strangers are getting to dictate the quality of life of others based on their own bias, whether that's conscious or not. So right now you might be wondering, how do we fix this? Let me tell you how. Indiana must form and enact a law for change. We have got to rid the system of the antiquated tipping tax credit that is provided to restaurants, which allows them to exploit their workers. And we do this in favor of those employees receiving a higher wage. They deserve to be able to support not only themselves, but their families as well. Right now, you might actually be thinking, well, that means I'm gonna have to pay more for my food now. The truth is, you already are, it's just in a more subtle way. According to the Economic Policy Institute, 46% of tipped employees rely on publicly funded assistance programs. And how could they not? They have been making the same $2.13 since 1991, back when the minimum wage was $4.25. I conducted a survey in which 72 people participated. Out of those participants, there was, of course, varying ages and incomes. And I asked them, were you a tipped employee? And if so, did you feel adequately compensated? Out of those 72 people, 2 people said that they felt adequately compensated, with the majority saying that tips were so inconsistent, they weren't able to budget for their monthly expenses. So right now, I want you to imagine a system that is not riddled with these problematic situations. I know that once we are able to rid the system of the tip tax credit, not only will we be able to balance out the power dynamic between the diner and the server, but we will be able to hold employers accountable for their employees. Because they will be paying out of their own pockets, they are more inclined to provide you a good level of service all around. So the next time we choose to leave a gratuity, it's not because we are felt to be guilty or bad people because we either can't afford to or don't want to leave 20% tip. And we're not under the consensus mentality that it's just something that we do. We can expect that the person serving us is happy and satisfied because they're being adequately compensated, and maybe they will actually feel empowered to speak up when somebody tries to devalue them. So right now, I need you to take down the names and numbers of your state representatives and give them a call and let them know that you support raising the minimum wage for your workers here in Indiana. Call Todd Young and Mike Braun at 317-232-9400 and your House representatives at 317-232-9600, and again, demand that they make a change for those servers here in Indiana. Because according to the IN.gov, the only way we can make this happen is by telling them verbally that we need this to happen. The next time you're at your favorite restaurant, let them know that you support an establishment that takes care of their employees. Right now, we need to make a change for the first time in 30 years, and that change is ridding the tip tax. We need to get rid of the system that perpetuates discrimination and sexual harassment and keeps people in poverty. So the next time you are out, when you finally answer what it is that you're having for dinner, Remember this today, please. Remember this when your server comes to you and smiles and tells you, "Thanks for coming. I'll be taking care of you tonight."
Next in our lineup of speakers is Madison Fry. Madison is a freshman in an exercise science and psychology program. After graduation, they plan to get her PhD and become a sports psychologist. Madison took speech with Professor Reyes, and their speech is titled "The Invisible Barrier."
Hi, I'm Madison Fry, and my speech is titled "The Invisible Barrier." Imagine this. You are up for a new promotion. You've been working hard all year for this and have even gained extra knowledge. You walk out of the interview thinking it went well, and that you can see yourself with this new job title. The next day, you come to find out that you did not get the promotion, but someone less qualified than you did. Believe it or not, this happens in the workforce all the time, specifically to women. It is called the glass ceiling effect. Although this affects females, males should be just as aware, as they are the ones who can change this discrimination. I cannot say that I've personally experienced the discrimination at hand, but my mom has. I've learned a lot about it from her, as well as doing research on the topic. The glass ceiling effect is a problem that needs to be changed, and it can be solved by getting rid of the bias so that women have just as equal of an opportunity. According to the University of Chicago, the glass ceiling is that invisible barrier to advancement that women face at top levels of the workplace. Women's odds of advancing in the workplace and holding these higher positions is lower due to the fact that they are discriminated against. A study done by university professors from various institutions determined that, exceeding the 75th percentile, men's odds of advancing increased by 4.1% each year, compared to that of women with only 2.8%. This means that men's odds of advancing are about 1.5 times higher than those of women who have the exact same skills and qualifications as those of their male counterparts. This lack of advancement is shown by how much women make up top qualifying positions. An article written by Margie Fishman, who is a business writer for American Express, states that in terms of the Fortune 500 companies, women only account for 15% of executives, 16% of board members, and only 8% of top corporate earners. But not only do women make up a little percentage of top executives, they get paid less than the males even though they have the exact same qualifications. The same article reviews, worldwide, women with MBAs initially earn $4,600 less than their male counterparts and lose out on more than $400,000 in salary over a 40-year career. So why is it that women make up so little of these top positions and get paid less for doing it? It is due to the fact of this invisible barrier. There are plenty of the women in this world perfectly qualified to hold top positions and to be paid as much as men for that position. If statistics are not enough to convince you that this needs to be changed, my own mother has experienced the effects of the glass ceiling. She personally experienced the glass ceiling, but also saw the effects of it. Many times she'd be sitting in a business meeting where she was the only female in the room. She was one of the few women to hold a top corporate position, but even then she still struggled to advance even higher. On top of that, she got paid significantly less than those of her male counterparts to do the same job or even an advanced position. The glass ceiling effect is very real, and it can easily happen to your wife, daughter, mother, or other loved one. Statistics and personal experiences prove this, but the effects can be reversed. There are many solutions that can help solve the discrimination that women face in the workplace. According to the same article written by Margie Fishman, one of the ways to do this is to implement career development programs that are for women. This allows them to be promoted and recruited on talent and potential that they have and helps them to move from more traditional roles to non-traditional roles. Giving women more of these opportunities will allow them to work in many different sectors. The same article also states that another way to shatter the glass ceiling is to eliminate evaluation bias. When providing feedback, be fair and honest, not focusing on a behavioral issue hindering an employee's path to advancement. It goes on to say, include a system of checks and balances to eliminate unconscious bias that can arise. And finally, actively encourage senior managers to identify and develop high-performing women and hold both groups accountable. If this type of assessment is put into place, then the bias that employers would have towards women holding these higher positions will be in check and allow them to have the opportunity. This will also allow for women's skills and abilities to be more recognized and to get some feedback that is not biased, but honest. The plan does not stop there, though. An article that was published in the Harvard Business Review, written by Deborah Myosin and Joyce Fletcher, explains a process that involves ending the discrimination seen in the workplace. The steps they say are involved in this would include understanding that there is gender inequality in the workplace. Next, diagnosing the problem, as in recognizing the source of the invisible barrier. And then experimenting to find out what works best to fix the inequality at hand, which eventually leads to developing a small win. These small wins will eventually lead to more and more wins, creating a system that significantly decreases or ends discrimination that women face. These ways to solve the glass ceiling will only be advantageous. Having more women in higher executive positions will allow equality and be beneficial to society. According to a research study written by Bernard Bass and Bruce Olvero about how women may make better managers, a new generation of women managers are characterized as being more open with colleagues and consensus builders who encourage wider participation and decision making. This is only beneficial to the organization or company. When running a company, everyone is on the same team, so having a good relationship with your colleagues is important, as well as knowing what is best for the company in terms of making important decisions. The same study goes on to state women managers, on average, tend to be more transformational and more proactive in addressing problems. As a consequence, they're more likely to be seen as effective and satisfying leaders to both their male and female followers. If women can be more effective and satisfying leaders, why are there not more female leaders? So much more benefit can be gained from these companies if women are managers or hold higher positions. Women are more transformational and address problems that need to be solved. This only helps the company to excel more and more in the future. Not only will these companies be doing great, but so many more women will be in top positions. So the best thing that you can do is to go into your community and spread the word about the glass ceiling. Have a conversation with your family, neighbors, or even local community members about what it is and how to fix it. So many people don't even realize that the glass ceiling exists, so spread the word. The charge for all men should be advocating for women and helping them to gain the same equality as themselves. Women, realize that this is a problem, but do not let discrimination stop you. Advocate for yourself, creating more beneficial change in this world. The glass ceiling is very real and has been a problem for many years, only providing inequality to fully qualified women. It has many ways to be solved, whether it be eliminating evaluation biases, including a system of checks and balances, or just gaining small wins. Will you be someone that does not do anything about the inequality, or will you be the one changing the workplace for women for many years to come?
Our fourth contestant is Prachika Purnachandra. Prachika is a freshman in an honors neuroscience and public health administration double major. After graduation, they plan to do part-time research at a lab and pursue a master's in neuroscience. Prachika's R110 professor is Heather Wyatt, and their speech is titled, "Let's Talk About Food."
Hello, let's talk food. Have you ever gone to sleep wondering if you will get a meal tomorrow morning? Or have you ever skipped a meal because you wanted to buy books? Or prayed that no one hears your stomach growl during a class? If you answered no to most of these questions, then let me tell you that you're actually privileged, my friend. However, how would you feel if I told you that the person sitting next to you had to trade an entire day's meal to get the textbook for your class? Not very good, right? As an average student, I never really gave any thought to food insecurity either, until I did extensive research and came across a civic report from Joseph Williams stating food insecurity on college campuses. According to his report, 2 out of every 5 college-going students experience food insecurity. I was sitting with a plate full of my favorite dishes, but I couldn't eat a single one of them. That's when I thought that universities need reforms that make sure that no students go to bed hungry. That make sure that there's no prevailing food insecurity among college-going students and every student values food just as the next one. According to a late 2017 study comprising of more than 30,000 students from Association of American Colleges, it was found that more than half of 2 and 4 year students were actually food deprived. That's right, the policies and laws that are in place often miss out on emerging adults. Students, college students, especially those who are underprivileged, often fall between the cracks. According to USA Today, increased in-state costs for full-time undergraduation for public 4-year college have doubled, resulting in students and families bearing even more burden than before. So now, remember, every time you mock your friend for not ordering something fancy at the nearby cafeteria when you all are hanging out, the jollity only guises what is a daily problem for them to solve. Dr. Christopher Nullum from Education Trust West observed that students using their food money to buy books and pay tuition fees is a serious issue which has mostly been swept under the rug. Everyone has become so superficial that no one pays attention to the basic human need. Now, students who are food deprived have significantly fared poorer than students who aren't. According to Association of American Colleges and Universities' July 2019 newsletter, issues like missing classes and dropping courses were reported mostly from homeless and hungry students. These students are more prone to developing mental and physical health-related diseases, which I'm sure I don't have to tell you is basically a compromise on the American dream. So every day of our lives that we just mull over situations like this, every day that we ignore the fact that there are students sleeping hungry, students who aren't even sure whether or not to expect their next meal, is every day that we step closer towards anarchy, injustice, and a compromised student life. The best part, however, of this world is that nothing is permanent, not even pain and suffering. And so there are steps that we can take to relieve those suffering students a little. I'm not asking anything big from you. They are simple, innocent acts of kindness that we can practice and incorporate in our daily lives. Can you imagine the feeling, the warmth that spreads through your chest when you hear the words, "You saved a life"? Here's how you can feel that feeling of benignity. By talking to your friends, by advocating for those rights who your friends aren't even aware of. That's right. Another quest of mine today is a reform in university and federal state agencies' policies wherein the focus is the need to increase access to information regarding eligibility for food assistance and the previous relief given to the students who were in need for reference and hope. Apart from that, universities and state governments can initiate a plant a fruit drive. That's right. Students and faculty can come together and plant fruit-bearing trees on campus. The students and staff can maintain those trees and later on harvest the fruits that they bear and distribute them to those who need it. The food can be kept in crates at common points like the Student Center at IUPUI, or they can be given at the college cafeteria, just like meal plans are given. So what do we learn here? That there are actually several steps that universities and associations can take in order to prevent students dropping dead on account of going hungry for more than a week. That is impractical. That is outrageous. It is not that responsible pedestal holders are helpless either. I agree that there is an emergency financial aid for students, but we can definitely improve, right? The Government Accountability Office advises that students can be majorly helped if they are taught more about nutrition, financial management, and the advantages of establishing food pantries. You must be wondering, food pantries? Well, are you aware of Pause Pantry at IUPUI? Or Crimson Cupboard at IU Bloomington, or Titans Feeding Titans at IU South Bend? Well, these are a few examples of food pantries that are filling stomachs of those who need it every day across our entire country. Now, you must be wondering, what would a world with no food insecurity among college students look like? Let me paint you a picture. Since we are in a dire need of new revised initiatives that work, I am suggesting a newly established set of revised policies and enterprises which will be beneficial to both the students and the university. According to Joseph Williams from US News, if we invest in our students now so that they are more likely to excel in school and life, it puts their children at reduced risk of becoming food insecure, which basically means that the forthcoming generation will be in requirement of less assistance from the universities. Imagine this, a future where no student goes to sleep on an empty stomach, where all the students have to talk about is their studies, what new music is out, and where they should meet at the downtown cafe. According to a research article in BMC Public Health, lack of nutritious food can precipitate poor health behaviors and increase risk of chronic diseases over time. So if we are able to solve crisis of food insecurity, we solve all these as well. Think of it like a domino effect. One problem solves the other. Putting an end to food insecurity will significantly reduce obesity, chronic disease patient count, mental health related disease patients, and increase overall performance. You see, it's no more just about killing 2 birds in 1 stone. It's about killing 100 pests and flourishing the field. Moreover, this will also help create a lot of volunteer opportunities for students who wish to lend a helping hand in this noble cause to earn those volunteer hours and reduce annual food wastage, as extra food can be donated to local and campus pantries. Another surprising fact, as reported by Anantha Narayana K. in the February issue of Times of India, Kochi's Maharaja College, Kochi, a state in India, its Maharaja College has actually been using the Japanese Miyawaki technique and is planning to execute a full-blown fruit tree forest on their campus. They are going to begin works in 2021 under the guidance of their botany department. You see how this global movement is not just theory anymore? Colleges are doing it, and so we know that it will definitely work. Now, it's high time we express our intolerance towards food insecurity among college-going students by participating in social media campaigns and using our voice for a good cause. You can even bring in a home-cooked meal at your closest pantry, volunteer at it, tell your friends about it, about the local pantries, help them and start a fundraiser. The list is endless of the ways that you can help your fellow mates. We can also start a petition, just like the Plant a Fruit movement, that promotes the idea of self-sustainability. Furthermore, we can also expand the periphery to federal and university authorities, and we can coordinate with them in order to implement more and more laws, more and more revised laws, wherein both the parties actually benefit. The studies mentioned, along with several others, show the importance and the need of the hour of reforms. And like Mother Teresa once said, that if you can't feed 100 stomachs, then feed just 1. I hope that this helped, and I hope that we are now empowered enough to demand a revolution, a reform in university food policies that changes the fate of many students and gives them a hope of a new dawn.
Our 5th speaker is Saloni Dixon. Saloni is a freshman majoring in biomedical informatics and plans to become a pediatric rheumatologist after graduation. Saloni took speech with Professor Black, and their speech is titled, "The Psychological Slavery of Microaggressions."
Cotton candy dum-dum pops. That was the taste of high school. Every day you pick that lollipop, hoping to unwrap paradise. Its sweet, rich, and fruity flavor always left you satisfied, knowing that if it was bitter, plain, and rancid, you would have to throw it away, along with your memories of high school. To your teachers, you were different, skin so vast and incomplete, like the waves of the ocean. But to them, it meant your skin defined your wit, your mind confined by their expectations. To them, no black girl from the South could have a tongue sharp enough, apt enough to have the same brains as them. When your English teacher pulled you aside, she innocently teased, "You're nothing like I expected." As if that loudmouth girl was a representation of your grade. As if color mattered. In this article, Challenging Definitions of Psychological Trauma, Connecting Racial Microaggressions and Traumatic Stress, author and cultural critic Nadal explains, microaggressions are subtle insults directed towards people of color, often automatically or unconsciously. Take a moment to imagine this. Your family moved into a brand new house, and from the surface, it was perfect. However, you never took the time to assess any interior damage and went along with it anyways. After a few years, the appearance of the house deteriorated. The doors became warped, the walls became damaged, and the windows became stiff. In order to solve this issue, you called an inspector, and to your surprise, your house was infested with termites. Before you realized it, the damage was irreversible. Here, the house acts as our country, America, and the microaggressions as termites. Think of it like this. Microaggressions have become a part of our daily lives and has simply invested itself into our actions. In America, we fail to recognize it, therefore making its effects irreversible. Despite the abolition of slavery and segregation, racism continues to manifest itself in American society. As a young Black woman in America, I have witnessed this use of conventional racism. We must shadow this burden in order to become an improved people, an improved society. The psychological slavery of microaggressions, because in order to solve this issue, we must first call attention to it, present a need to fix it, provide a satisfactory plan, and finally, reveal this issue into extinction. First, let's take a look at why we need to act against microaggressions. This is a problem that needs to be fixed before it's too late. According to the article, Connecting Racial Microaggressions and Traumatic Stress, from the John Jay College of New York City of Criminal Justice, microaggressions are considered to be used often in subtle and unconscious ways, that people's biases influence their language and behavior. 50% or more of African Americans reported being targets of race-based information. As a result, these encounters were described by the professor and chair of the Department of Sociology, Verna Keith, at Texas University, as a significant risk to their physical and mental health. Psychologist and therapist Monica Williams demonstrates in her article, Microaggressions, Clarification, Impact, and Evidence, that everyday discrimination contributes to trauma symptoms such as anxiety, depression, sleep difficulties, deprived confidence, and helplessness. On the second day of your freshman year, two boys approached you, cornering your small figure with resentful glares. One of them snatched your book, while the other shoved you into your locker, repeating, "Nigger." At any rate, I would like to propose a plan to prevent the common use of microaggressions. Step 1, pick your battles. Highlighted in the Harvard Business Journal, When and How to Respond to Microaggressions by Ella Washington, picking your battles gives you the power of choice. Think of it like this. You can't win every battle. Therefore, when responding to microaggressions, you must give yourself empowerment through your decision. Step 2, respond immediately. This can simply be accomplished by asking more clarification on their comments. Here you are confronting the issue in order to counteract their microaggression. Step 3, separating intent from impact. This third step, highlighted in the Harvard Business Journal, When and How to Respond to Microaggressions by Ella Washington, assesses the difference between intent and impact. Essentially, you want the aggressor to hear what they're saying in order to understand the impact of their words, in order to potentially change their behavior in the future. Sour pickles, that was the taste of your work life. Every Friday you clocked in with a fist as heavy as a hammer by your side. One afternoon, her shrieking made the air heavier, thinner, and so much more unbearable to breathe. You could hear her laugh in the back and exclaim to your coworkers, "I never should have hired her. She acts like the rest of those dogs," from the South Side. Allow me to help you visualize the benefits to my plan. By picking your battles, it enables the ability to be selective of the confrontation. Instead of fighting every battle, you can simply save your time for matters that are more important. Next, responding immediately. Corrects their bad behavior and serves as a learning experience. Lastly, separating intent from impact. Educates the aggressor on their racist comments. Truly, it demonstrates how their words were fundamentally wrong and offensive. An important principle of this statement is to let the aggressor know that he or she is not under attack for their comments. And in other words, it disarms them from becoming defensive. It is my hope to make the impossible possible. Microaggressions hold their power because their existence is invisible. According to the TED Talk, colorblind or color brave, Melanie Hobson once said, we must be comfortable with real conversations about this issue. Be willing to participate in proactive conversations about race with honesty, understanding, and courage. Not because this is the right thing to do, but the smart thing to do. Allow us to recognize our actions and behaviors as discriminatory and indefinitely unmask the blind invisibility of microaggressions. Be non-racist. Be an advocate. It all begins with your voice. Your experiences were always associated with a taste. High school's flavor was saturated with cotton candy dum-dum pops, while work stank of sour pickles. Those scents stuck to you, hitting your heart twice as hard every time you caught a whiff of those decayed memories. That girl in that English classroom was me. That girl who never had a voice was me. I know there were other girls like me who don't have anyone to get them through the fight, and I'm telling you, we have to take a stand. Not for me, not for you, but for those who can't, in order to finally unravel the racism woven into America.
Next up, we have Ahmad Abdallah. Ahmad is a freshman majoring in electrical engineering. After graduation, they plan to pursue a master's in computer and electrical engineering. Ahmad took R110 with Professor McCleary, and their speech is titled, Putting the Right People Behind Bars.
According to the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, 4.1% of people sentenced to death in the U.S. between 1979 and 2004 were innocent. That is 300 innocent people on death row awaiting execution because of a failure of the U.S. justice system. You may think this doesn't affect you, but trust me, it does. According to the Equal Justice Initiative, half of Americans have an immediate family member who is currently or formerly in prison. And according to the Department of Justice, or DOJ, 5% of Americans will serve time in prison. Now, I have neither of these personal experiences, but I have dedicated hours of research and over 20 scholarly, reliable sources into the problems of the U.S. justice system today. I will first go over why it fails to put the right people behind bars, solutions to this problem, potential results of these solutions, and how you can help these solutions along. The problems with the U.S. justice system can be seen in the amount of innocent people that are in jail and the amount of guilty that go free. We can examine these factors with wrongful convictions, which is when an innocent person is convicted, and police clearance rates, which is the percent of crimes that police solve. Now, according to the National Criminal Justice Reference Service and their article estimating the prevalence of wrongful convictions, using DNA testing and sexual assault related cases, they found 11.6% of convictions were wrongful. The Chicago Tribune, in their article Why the Innocent End Up in Prison, estimate that for all crimes, the wrongful conviction rate is between 2 and 10%. Using our lowest and highest estimate, along with the number of total incarcerated from the DOJ, we find that between 26,000 and 166,000 current prisoners are innocent, having years of their life taken away in a subhuman cell because of a failure of the U.S. justice system. But how about the amount of guilty that go free? Well, according to the FBI, police solve 62% of murders, 54% of aggravated assaults, 35% of rapes, 30% of robberies, 20% of larceny theft, and 14% of vehicle theft and burglaries. Now, this adds up to about 46% of violent crimes and 18% property crimes solved, meaning police solve less than half of all crimes reported in the U.S. For every crime they don't solve, that is a victim going without their justice, a perpetrator who is free to commit more crimes, and as we've seen earlier, not all these solutions are even correct. But now that you see that there is a problem with the U.S. justice system, what should we do about it? It stands to reason that I am not the first to look for a solution, so I'll be taking examples of successes from across the country as foundations for my solution. Now, according to the DOJ, in their article, Wrongful Convictions and the Culture of Denial, the leading causes for wrongful convictions between 1989 and 2017 is perjury, false accusation, official misconduct, mistaken witness testimony, false or misleading forensic evidence, and false confessions. It stands to reason if we can attack these prosecution-related causes, then we can attack wrongful convictions. Luckily, this already exists in what is called a Conviction Integrity Unit. According to the Equal Justice Initiative, a nonprofit aiming to help victims of the failure of the U.S. justice system, CIUs helped secure 40% of the exonerations reported in 2018. However, 4 of those 45 CIUs were responsible for 85% of those exonerations. Additionally, only 2% of nationwide prosecution offices have a CIU. I believe if we could implement a CIU in every prosecution office around the country and make them as effective as these top 4, we would receive a large decrease in wrongful conviction rate. But how about a clearance rate solution? Well, according to a Harvard paper, Can Police Departments Increase Homicide Clearance Rates? The Boston Police Department increased theirs by 10% by hiring more detectives, more analysts, improving officer training, and changing standard protocols. If we can get all police departments to implement similar reforms, we could hopefully see similar increases. And we would also have much more data in order to determine which forms are effective and which reforms are not. But the biggest contention is cost. These all would use taxpayer money, right? Well, CIUs also save money. According to the Barrett Institute, the average prisoner costs $33,274 per year. Every exoneration from a CIU will save $33,000 per year left on that prisoner sentence for the state. Money also does not seem to be a problem for clearance rate reform, as Boston.gov reports that the BPD spent $10 million less after the reform than they did before. Of course, many other factors likely contributed, but it still shows that these reforms can be managed without overspending. Now we've gone over various solutions to fix these problems, but what can these solutions result in? Well, in 2018, 151 exonerations happened from the U.S. National Registry of Exoneration. That's what they reported. And the top 4 CIUs in this year exonerated 13 people each. If we could establish a CIU in each of the 2,330 prosecution offices nationwide, even if they're only a quarter as effective as these top 4, we would exonerate 7,000 more people yearly. 7,000 people who can return to their families free of subhuman treatment and no longer cost taxpayer money. Clearance rate reform. Even if there was only half as effective in every other department as the BPD, we could increase our national rates to 51% of violent crimes and 23% of property crimes. And using the total amount of crimes from FBI, this means we would solve 60,000 more violent crimes yearly and 360,000 more property crimes yearly, meaning more victims with their own owed justice and less perpetrators to go on and commit more crimes. But after going over the solutions to these problems, what the problem is, how these solutions will result into a better world, what can you do about it? Well, you can first Google any of these associations and donate to them. The Equal Justice Initiative, Innocence Project, or American Civil Liberties Union. You can also pay your taxes to help out reforms. The Innocence Project, more specifically, is a nationwide CIU that does its own exonerations. You could also go on change.org and sign petitions for people who don't have access to CIUs but have been wrongfully convicted. You could also be a good citizen. If legislation supporting these reforms comes through your state or U.S. Congress, support it. Write a letter to your representative. Be a good and honest witness. Report your crimes good and honestly. When you have jury duty, be good and honest. And if you are unfortunately witness to a false conviction, report it to the Indiana Office Attorney General Conviction Review Unit. All in all, we should remember that while the justice system is made to keep us in check, we must also in turn keep it in check.
Last But certainly not least, we have Leslie Shute. Leslie is a freshman majoring in nursing. After graduation, they plan to continue their nursing career. Leslie took R110 with Professor Overby, and their speech is titled, "A Look at People with a History of Incarceration and Their Ability to Re-Enter the Workplace."
The article, Out of Prison and Out of Work from prisonpolicy.org, estimates that there are nearly 5 million formerly incarcerated people living in the United States, and that the unemployment rate among them is 27%. That's higher than the U.S. unemployment rate at any time during history, including during the Great Depression. Each one of you is in college preparing to go into the workforce, and whether you're a CEO or an entry-level employee, I guarantee you will encounter this issue. I have volunteered for some time for an organization that helps women go from working in a strip club to gaining stable employment. My husband is the founder of an organization that hires people with a less than desirable background and sends them out to other companies as temp workers. Through these two experiences, I began researching what it would look like to help formerly incarcerated people gain employment. Individuals with a history of incarceration are often unable to find employment. Therefore, companies should create policies to ensure the hiring of these individuals because it benefits the employee, the employer, and the community. Even a small infraction could keep someone from being able to find employment due to employer bias, and unemployment is one of the leading reasons someone reoffends. A history of incarceration could mean anything from someone who was arrested to someone who's been in and out of prison for years. For example, someone who fits a description was arrested, missed work the next day, could be fired and placed in the same undesirable hiring category as an ex-offender, ex-felon, even though they were innocent of any crime. Also, Indiana is a no-fault state, meaning that an employer can fire an employee for no reason, and being fired makes it much more difficult to find more work. Individuals with a history of incarceration have historically been left out of the job market. I found this from the website How Willing Are Employers to Hire Ex-Offenders from the website irp.wisc.edu. In a survey that they did, they found that over 40% of employers indicated that they would probably or definitely not be willing to hire an applicant with a criminal history, even for a job not requiring a college degree. I feel like these employers might really be missing out, though, because according to another article I found, Criminal Background and Job Performance from the IZA Journal of Labor Policy states employees with a criminal history have a much longer tenure and are less likely to quit their jobs. Furthermore, unemployment is one of the leading reasons someone reoffends. According to the article Prison Recidivism from the Occupy.com, the lack of employment options leads to lack of finances, and lack of finances leads back to crime. Now that a problem has been clearly established, what is the solution? The solution is for companies to create a policy to not discriminate against applicants based on criminal history, in turn hiring more individuals with a history of incarceration and then retaining those individuals. The big picture looks like an initiative for companies to have a particular percentage of their employees qualify for the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. According to the IRS's website, the Work Opportunity Tax Credit is a federal tax credit available to employers for hiring individuals from targeted groups who have been consistently faced with significant barriers to employment. Individuals with a history of incarceration would qualify for that targeted group. And then the applicant simply fills out an 8850 tax form. There are many strategies for companies to begin putting this policy into place. I'll present two of them. First would be to work with programs such as Work Release or with a highly specialized community-based temp agency. This allows the company to not take on the full responsibility of the employee. It gives them a partner to help manage, train, and support that employee. One up-and-coming temp agency in Madison County that's doing this is Restart Staffing. According to their website, Restart Staffing facilitates the hiring of the formerly incarcerated by mitigating the risk and reducing turnover for the employer while providing accountability and support for the employee. The second option would be for the company to do the work themselves. But remember, it's not just enough to hire these individuals. The companies should have a highly trained HR person who is able to recruit, train, support, and retain these individuals. The company would also want to include the 8050 tax form, an example here, in their hiring packet to identify individuals that will qualify for that tax credit and then get that process started. Last, the company should be more understanding and flexible of other demands on these individuals, such as court dates or things they need to do outside of work. By understanding and being flexible with these employees and their time, helps retain those individuals and support them. Now that a solution has been clearly identified, what does this look like for everybody involved? The hiring of individuals with a history of incarceration benefits the employer, the employee, and the community. For the employee, they're working. They are able to support themselves and their family, and they are less likely to reoffend. The company, as we stated, qualifies for that tax credit. It saves them money. And they begin having a reputation of being a company with a moral standings and fair hiring practices. There are countless benefits for the community when an individual is working instead of reoffending. These benefits include, but are not limited to, a lower crime rate, as well as less budgetary needs for prison, which frees up funds for things like public parks. This issue requires your action right now, today. First and foremost, begin doing your own research so that when you enter the job force, you understand this issue and you already know what policies you would like to put into place at your work. Second, remember that you have a responsibility to treat individuals with a history of incarceration fairly. Examine yourself. Recognize your own biases and your own privileges. Remember, it is extremely difficult for an individual with a history of incarceration to gain employment due to employer bias. Therefore, companies can and should, they have a responsibility to ensure the hiring of these individuals, to create policies to ensure the hiring of these individuals, because it benefits the employee, the employer, and the community. Right now, today, the unemployment rate among people with a history of incarceration is higher than the U.S. unemployment rate has ever been.
As our final speaker draws the semester's virtual speech night competition to a close, all of us on the team behind Speech Night would like to thank the wonderful contestants for their participation and effort despite the unique and unusual circumstances. Before we get to voting, we would like to take a second to recognize our amazing faculty and student staff that have worked so hard to make this event what it is today. Pulling off an event like this is something that is no easy task, and we couldn't do it without each and every one of these amazing individuals working every single day. Now, the moment you have all been waiting for. It is time to vote. Voting for the 99th Biannual Speech Night competition will be open from November 30th through December 4th and can be reached by scanning this QR code or by typing this link into your browser. This link will allow you to vote one per person, so use it wisely. The winner and finalists' placements will be announced on December 7th, so be sure to check back to the speakerslab.info in a few days. From everyone at the IUPUI Speakers Lab and the team behind this semester's speech night, thank you so much for your participation in this amazing event. We couldn't do it without people like you, and we can't wait to announce the winner after voting has closed. Good luck to all the contestants, and thank you all for watching.